Your parents or caregivers, whoever raised you, live in your nervous system. It's inescapable. As a newborn and as a toddler, and even as an adolescent, in order to survive in your family, you have to mold and become part of that family unit. And so you have to, and because you want to survive and because you depend on your parents or your caregivers for survival, you will adjust to them. If they are overly violent and aggressive and angry, you will suppress yourself in order to fit in. That's one example, right? And so your nervous system adjusts to them. So imagine this analogy. Imagine there's beach sand, right? And it's wet. And you put your handprint in the sand or the snow, right? It leaves a handprint in the snow. You remove the hand and the handprint is still there. Same thing happens in your nervous system. Your parents or your caregivers have a handprint that they push into your nervous system. And even when you leave the nest and as an adult, that handprint still exists in your nervous system. And if you had a healthy environment growing up, then you may not be trying to escape that handprint, that impression that they put into your nervous system, that the way that you adjusted to them, right? But the way we adjust is by suppressing the excesses that they provide. So if one of your parents is very angry and aggressive, you will suppress your own anger and aggression. That handprint will push into you, and you will suppress those traits in yourself and push them into your unconscious, because you cannot be aggressive as well because you depend on them for survival. And so if you're aggressive back at them, you're gonna fear the lack of love and the lack of safety and the lack of being provided for, but also fear for your actual safety. I can't fight this adult, I'm a little kid. So you will suppress all these things that you disowned in your parents, that you allowed them to mold into you. You will suppress them into your nervous system, which causes nervous system activation, which causes, suppressed anger, which puts you into fight or flight. And you might, or if that anger that you're suppressing overwhelms your nervous system, you're going to what's called dorsal shutdown, where it overwhelms your nervous system to a point where you just kind of give up, and that's depression, that's laying in bed, that's giving up on life, that's the freeze response, right? So if you've had a rough childhood, if you find yourself judging your parents and avoiding them, you're really avoiding your own nervous system. You're avoiding the feelings that come up when you're around them, because they are activating the impression that's in your nervous system. They're activating the handprint that's in your nervous system. And those things are in you. And you may be avoiding them to avoid facing and integrating those things back into those things that you suppressed back into your nervous system. For example, anger. You may struggle with boundaries. You may struggle with speaking up for yourself. You may struggle with asking for what you want in life or going after what you want in life because you've suppressed your anger, which anger is a very important tool to integrate into your nervous system, because it takes a little bit of anger to set boundaries with people and say, I don't like when you do that, please stop, right? If you suppress your anger, you'll be a people pleaser. You'll do whatever, you'll just let yourself be pushed around. So long story short, your parents live in your nervous system, and it's unavoidable if you were raised by them or whoever raised you. And if you find yourself avoiding life and avoiding feeling or overworking, compulsively doing, using drugs to numb, maybe even antidepressants, maybe you're depressed, a lot of that is having something in your nervous system that you don't like and you're trying to avoid feeling it. And a lot of times it's the energy that was put into us as children into our nervous system. They say wherever you go, there you are, right? So you can try to escape as much as you can. You can change jobs, change relationships, change cities, change countries. But wherever you go, there you are. Your nervous system goes with you. And everywhere you go, you're taking your nervous system with you. Doesn't matter who you're with, doesn't matter what relationship you're in, doesn't matter what city you live in, doesn't matter what state you live in. Your nervous system goes with you wherever you go. So I highly recommend somatic therapies that teach you how to face and feel what's in your body, your nervous system. Allow your nervous system to feel safe enough to feel, instead of numbing and running away and smoking a lot of cannabis and constantly leaving relationships, constantly leaving jobs, giving up on life, laying in bed, feeling depressed. It's better to make your nervous system feel safe enough to face and feel all of this. I also like a combination of somatic therapy with the yogic sciences. And I'm not saying yoga per se of what you see as yoga in a studio. There are yogic sciences, there are practices that you can learn that require an initiation process that will start to balance your energies, liberate energies that have been suppressed, undo anything that's not your true nature, right? A lot of what we think is us is a compensation for our upbringing. It's a compensation for the way we were taught to think, the way we were taught to behave, the way we were taught to suppress our truth in order to survive in our family, the way we had to show up maybe in ways that we shouldn't have had to show up for our parents, being there for them, walking on eggshells, all those things. Those are not you. And oftentimes we compensate with the opposite of that. And we think we're big on ourselves, but we're really just still in rebellion to our parents who live in our nervous system. They live in our nervous system, and we're like, you know what? Screw them, I'm gonna do the opposite. They were a Republican, I'm gonna be liberal. They were Catholic, they were religious, I'm gonna be the opposite. And they were very shut down sexually, I'm gonna be hypersexual. All of that is just still responding to your parents, still living according to what your parents, still either living by their expectations or denying their expectations. It's still being led by your parents. It's like when people talk about, I'm a leader, I do the opposite of whatever everyone else does. I'm a leader, I do the opposite. No, you're still following what everyone else is doing. Do you understand? You're still being a follower because you're taking the leadership of what everyone's doing and doing the opposite, which makes you a follower still. A leader checks in with themselves and like, what do I really like? Not being oppositional to everyone, not being a contrarian, but doing what they feel in their heart is the right thing for them without judgment, without trying to be the opposite or without trying to fit in. That's what a leader does. Same thing with our parents. You're never going to find your truth if you're trying to live by the opposite of your parents. Stop trying to. Both extremes are not good. Doing what your parents expect and living by what they believe, or doing the complete opposite and going, I'm going to go the opposite extreme. Either way, you're still responding to your parents who live in your nervous system. We need to liberate that energy. I like the yogic sciences that help to liberate these energies and integrate them back into and undo all this conditioning that makes us not us. And also combine that with somatic therapies and, inner child reparenting, all that stuff. So as these energies are liberated, it could be challenging. These energies come up. I've been going through this myself, doing these. The practice I love is Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, which is a part of Sadhguru's inner engineering program, which I highly recommend. It's being studied by Harvard. It's really a powerful, powerful practice that starts to liberate these energies that are inside, but it could be challenging if you don't have the tools to deal with it as they come up. Because all these things that are suppressed and all these energies that are forced down are literally our parents in our nervous system. And they start to come up, it's like, oh shit, now I have all this stress that I was trying to stuff down because all the stress that they injected into my nervous system. And now it's like, okay, how do I reparent myself? How do I lead myself? How do I regulate my own nervous system through all of this and allow that energy to exist? And the more energy you reintegrate into your nervous system, the more vital you become. So depression is literally the suppression of your life force energies into your nervous system because it's not safe to be fully expressed. It's not safe, so we suppress ourselves. It's like, I might die if I go out there, so let me just give up on life. This is safer. So the more you integrate these energies, the more vital you become. All right, I can ramble if I let myself go, but that's enough for now. I will also say this, that when you move out of your parents' house and when you do this work and when you start to liberate these energies and set healthy boundaries and all that stuff and find yourself, you may no longer fit into the puzzle piece in their home. So if you visit and stuff, you may no longer fit that culture, that lifestyle that you outgrew, right? You may have moved out, you may have undone some of that handprint, maybe instead of 5 fingers now it's 2 fingers left, but you've undone 3 of those fingers and there's only 2 fingers, peace sign, right? So you might go and visit and we're like, wow, in order to be here I have to be stressed out, right? In order to fully survive here I have to kind of behave a certain way, I have to suppress certain things, I can't speak up, I can't share my truth, I have to be stressed when I like to live in peace, right? That if it might feel like living in a pot of boiling water, right? Because maybe that's how maybe they are still in that state that you outgrew. So, and that's the case when you go and you spend time with them and you don't do it like, you don't fight against it, you don't, rebel like a teenager, you don't get pissed off, you just withdraw yourself, right? And you can love them from a distance, you can be there as much as possible without losing yourself. You can make healthy choices, you can, not fit into their frame of reality that no longer suits you. It comes more from a peaceful place versus pissed off teenager energy. Molding to your parents and doing everything that they expect of you is like a young toddler child, right? Being a good boy, being a good girl for mommy and daddy. And then getting to the place where you're rebellious against them and saying, screw you, I'm gonna do the opposite of what they want me to do. That's pissed off teenager energy, right? It's a part of the developmental process. It's part of the individuation process. You go from little child doing what mommy and daddy want to teenager saying screw you, and the goal is to get past that, right? And just become a fully functional adult, which is not screw you anymore. Boundaries are always angry at first. Boundaries are usually walls at first. When you go from being a little child who has no boundaries and is just trying to survive and depends on their parents for survival, now you become a teenager and you start to rebel against your parents and say, screw you guys, I don't need you, I want to be myself. And then you get to a point where it's no longer from a screw you energy, pissed off teenager energy, and doing the opposite of what mom and daddy expected of me. Whatever they say, I'm going to do the complete opposite. That's pissed off teenager energy. We want to become adults. And so we now just make our choices without anger. And that's how you've kind of gotten to that place where you've healed enough where you just keep your distance. If you visit, you don't have to stay with them. You can get an Airbnb or a hotel room. If you do stay with them, you don't have to do all the things that they expect. If they go to church, you don't have to join them. If you don't want to. But it doesn't have to come from anger. Just healthy boundaries. Like I said, boundaries always start off angry when you're first learning them, because remember, boundaries come from a healthy integration of anger. So when there's suppression of anger, there's no boundaries. When you suppress your anger, when you start to feel angry, then the boundaries are pissed off. It's like, no, screw you, I'm not doing that, right? It's like they come from anger. But then as you integrate that anger, you just healthy boundaries. Hey, do you want to go here? No. Hey, we're gonna do this. You want to do this? No. Sorry, it's just not my thing. It doesn't have to come from anger. It doesn't have to be the anger sometimes comes from guilt. Because it's like, why are you forcing me to set boundaries? Why are you making me do things and putting me in this position where I have to say no to you, and it makes me feel guilty? That's where the anger and the boundaries come from. It's like somebody's asking something from you that you're like, I wish they weren't asking me this. Why are they asking me this? They're putting me in this position to say no, and it just makes me mad. So I just wanted to add this piece about how you know that you are overcoming this is when you start to just make better choices, more aligned choices for yourself, and it's not fueled by anger and it's not fueled by rebellion. It's just, no, this is just who I am. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not going there. No, I don't want to do that. No, you're not the one for me, So anyways, that's enough for now.